Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, I can't tell you how much I enjoy visiting with people like Jordan Blissett, Lake Pickle, the long list of these young conservationists that I enjoy spending time with, and hunters, and they love just being in the outdoors, and it's infectious. I mean, as we chat about what hunting is all about, hunting is about the experience. It's not about the actual shooting, even though it's great to get some of that meat, and it's good to have success in our hunts. But it's wonderful to spend time with people like Jordan. We'll get him on more often, that is for sure. So now, actually, I'm going to give you a little hint here. We're going to Houston Havens, who's head of the waterfowl program. He's the waterfowl program coordinator for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Houston, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. You just reminded me I need to be starting to find all my stuff and being sure it's in working order.
I know, man. Listen, we got running water. So actually, I say Mississippi's got running water, man. All over this state, there are electric powered pumps and diesel powered pumps working overtime right now to pump some water into some breaks, because it's probably, we said that last year. We said there's a lot of diesel fuel being burned, but there's even more going to get burned this year, isn't it?
There is, yeah. We've been our wildlife management area staff have really been working hard, trying to keep things running, and really kind of testing the limits of some of these this wetland infrastructure we've got. But we're glad to have it in place, and I think it's going to be important for birds here in the next few weeks.
My son Jordan was doing some deer hunting, not this weekend, but last weekend, I think. Yeah, it was last weekend. And he went into an area where there's a pretty large pond, more almost like a small lake. And it's pulled back from this banks pretty significantly. It's up in the Mississippi Delta. And when he walked in there, it was literally loaded with wood ducks. And obviously, I think that's a signal of once the migratory birds start to come down, where there's water, they're going to congregate. That's what you're expecting, isn't it?
It is. When you mentioned that, we've got today's the first day of our November aerial waterfowl survey, and so we're going to get a good look at a lot of dry land, of course, but it's going to be important to see if that is the case. We know that we've got some migratory birds that are already here. And there's not going to be a whole lot of habitat across the Mississippi Delta or across the state in general, but we're going to see where those birds are using those well-managed habitats.
Well, I did a post a few weeks ago that reminded people who are in Mississippi, when we say migratory birds, what do we mean by that, and where are birds coming from? They're coming from, up north United States, North America, Canada. We know what has to happen to get them from where they are now down here. And this has been an El Nino year, so it's supposed to be colder and wetter. I noticed that even next week, we're starting to see the wet, thank goodness. And next week, we're seeing the eastern part of America is going to be a significant chill. I don't think it's going to make it all the way over yet, but it's coming. And the experts that I'm sure you're talking to tell you that expect it to rain more, expect it to be colder, which could help deer season. Listen to me. Could help our duck season, couldn't it?
It sure could, yeah. And that's the name of the game is weather. From here on out, we're looking for strong winter weather that's going to continually come from the north, sweep down into the southeast. Doesn't necessarily have to be really, really cold here in the southeast. The birds are going to end up here if they have significant factors to push the migration down this far, and we do hope that happens, of course. But it just makes for overall a better duck hunting experience if we do have cold weather, for most of the winter.
I follow closely DU and other organizations like them and the work they're doing really across the flyway, and particularly up in Canada. Ed Penny has been a regular on the show and somebody I have a lot of respect for, and he has responsibility for policy across multiple states in this region of the United States. But when you think about all the work that's going on up in Canada, what are they telling you about how it's going so far? How are Mississippi's ducks doing as they come this way? What are you expecting this year?
Well, it's too early to tell as far as what to expect for Mississippi duck hunting. Weather is going to play the key factor there, but duck populations are still doing well, and that's, as you said, a testament to the overall waterfowl conservation community. A lot of states do a lot of work within their states and then outside their boundaries as well to work on breeding habitat and other things that are important for ducks outside of the duck season. And our band returns show that we're getting ducks from all over the country and from Canada, and so we're anxious to get started. Going to be starting up with our typical opener the day after Thanksgiving, and people are getting ready for it.
They really are. Listen, I was reminded. I mentioned to Jordan during our conversation that my friend Travis Dunn refers to the dust in the Mississippi Delta as baby powder. I mean, it's been so long since the drought has just really run its toll. But we get this good rain, later last week. I mean, it rained all day for us on Friday, and it actually pushed into Saturday to some extent. And what happened is it soiled like the first 2 inches. It's still hard underneath that, thank God. So you can go into a field, you're not going to rut, but you're going to slide all over the place, and you get reminded about what gumbo is all about. I mean, getting to the hunting ground, or in my case, I had to go pick up my friend Mark Creech, who had shot a doe on a farm where we've got to take at least 20 does off of it. And man, oh man, did that mud pile up on my tires, man. That's a signal that we're at hunting season, isn't it?
That's right. I think we've talked about on this show before the different types of rain. Usually by this time of year, we're looking for those really good duck hole rains that are going to have a lot of runoff and fill wetlands. But we're still in need of just the deer food plot kind of rains. Those slow rains, like you said, you got Friday and Saturday. Not all the state got those, and so there's still a lot of that powder out there.
Yeah, I know there is, and I think we're supposed to get a little bit more rain this week. It was first going to be a tremendous amount of rain, but it looks like the low in the Gulf is going to stay a little bit further south. I still would think we're going to get some periphery off of that for a lot of Mississippi. Again, just not talking about ducks, but certainly as it relates to the food plots, it'd be nice to get, even a 1/10 or 2/10 or 3/10 of an inch on top of what we got last week, because germination's happening and food plots are starting to come up. It was going to be weird to go into hunting season, gun hunting season with brown food plots, just dirt food plots. And now we got a chance to at least have some germination, and it's looking good as we get toward the rut. I think the food plots for those folks that didn't germinate early and then get fried, we got lucky. And for the most part, as it relates to that, we're looking at having sort of a normal food plot situation for as we get into December, and that's going to be good. But boy, from a duck point of view, Houston, as you pointed out, we need some soaking rain, don't we?
That's right. And, we tried to do our part by scheduling to be in an airplane this week. And so we figured that was the best thing that we could do to make it rain. It just seems to always work out that way. But we'll work this week and catch the good days when we can. And we'll definitely welcome the rain when it does come.
Well, look, you guys, for people who have not heard you and I talk before, we've had a lot of conversations about our forefathers being so smart to set aside so much public land, across the state, whether it be in national forest land or whether it be in management areas that you guys manage. But as it relates to ducks in the wildlife management areas, you guys have developed sort of a year after year best practice that has really paid dividends, even in situations where we may not have the ducks we hope we get because we didn't have the conditions north of us the way we needed to have those conditions. You guys still had ducks. So you've been very consistent there, but that has taken a lot of hard work, hasn't it?
It has. We have our wildlife management areas that you mentioned across the state, and we manage those as best we can with the varying conditions. This year was a challenge with things just turning off really dry in the late summer and persisting until now. But we do have a variety of setups for people to use those public lands, whether it's a draw hunt, which is focused more on the quality and not as much of the quantity of people on the area. And then we also still have those areas that are open for freelance hunters to be able to go hunting when they can. And so we get a lot of feedback about our public areas, and we're always trying to work to make it better for Mississippi hunters.
Well, I mean, I congratulate you guys on so much great work as it relates to that. And the hunters of Mississippi have been the benefactors, and the secret's kind of out, which is why you guys have to work to sort of manage the popularity of waterfowl hunting on the wildlife management areas. Kind of remind people what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean, this year in particular will be a prime example of the popularity of these areas.
Houston, when I asked you that question, I didn't realize we were at the end of this segment. When we get back on the other side, Houston will talk to us about the popularity of duck hunting on the Mississippi wildlife management areas, and we'll talk about some of the efforts underway to try to manage that and what you should know as a hunter. We'll see you about that on the other side. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have my friend Houston Havens, who's head of the waterfowl program for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. He's a great friend of this show, a great friend of mine, somebody I have so much respect for. Actually ran into him at the top of the hill on 430 right outside Greenwood. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before last year, but it was great to actually see you in person, Houston.
Yeah, it was good running into you. It's always surprises me, or shouldn't surprise me anymore. You know, it's a small world running into people in lots of small towns.
It is a small world. And I said as a publisher all the time, I was always amazed at people who burn bridges. You know, there is no future in burning bridges because what goes around comes around. We may disagree on this issue, but don't burn the bridge. We can love each other on the next one. Let's be respectful and friends. But some people have very short-sighted points of view when it comes to conflict, and they forget how small the world really is, man. I have a friend of mine who went over to France, and his brother had gone over like a month before and was just, you know, doing the railroad tour as, you know, as a single by himself. My friend was actually with a church group, and he's standing in France at some kind of celebration they were having, and three people to his right stood his brother, and this is before cell phones, so they had no idea they were both in this town. Again, another reminder of how small this world really is. Houston, so when we went to break, we were talking about the wildlife management areas are super popular from a waterfowl point of view, so you guys have to put some provisions in place to manage that. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, particularly in a year like this where it's just so dry. We're hearing from a lot of people who typically hunt private lands and maybe even have the means to put some water on their private lands. But, you know, it's taken so long to pump that water. It's so dry. It's costing a lot of money, whether it's electricity or diesel, to do that. And so public lands that have managed shallow water on them when the season opens are just going to be a lion's share of the managed habitat that's out there for ducks. And so we'll see this week what those areas are looking like as far as duck abundances. We expect those to be pretty good. And, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, it's going to be really popular with duck hunters as well. It's, you know, the available water is probably going to have decent numbers of birds on them. And that's what we typically see in a dry year like this to start the season off. And so we do different management situations with draw hunts and with open areas to kind of give people a variety of options.
So so people can go to your website and learn more, because each one has a little different complexion or dimension to it. How do they learn more about it?
Yep, MDWFP.com, and look under wildlife management areas. You can look at the specific area that you're interested in hunting, or maybe several options to look at, just like you said, those differences in how those waterfowl hunts are run, whether they're completely draw only. Some of those draw areas might have standby opportunities where you can show up the morning of a hunt and kind of take a chance on filling a spot that somebody didn't show up for. Or you can choose to target those areas that just have open hunting certain days of the week.
Really cool. Hey, listen, I was about to interrupt you a few minutes ago. I was sorry for that. What I was going to say is that it'd be interesting if we could somehow know how many pumps are running across this state. That'd be actually a great barometer, wouldn't it, about where water is and where water isn't. If you could literally look at a map of Mississippi and see every single dot is where there's a running pump. But suffice it to say, I bet there's a bunch.
Yeah, that's probably one thing that we're going to see a lot of, as we're flying this week is, just seeing where those pumps are starting to put a little water on the landscape and just looking at how birds are responding. They're going to find good habitat if it's available.
Wow, we one of the pumps. My buddy Travis sent a video of they were pumping sort of a really nice bottom that's got some hardwoods in it and just really beautiful, just a great area for duck habitat. And the water coming out from a well was just so beautiful, man. As it was running, you could like move your head away from the pipe and just look at the running water, and with those hardwoods in the background, it felt like Gatlinburg, a stream at Gatlinburg or something. It was so pretty. But it's a dynamic time of the year, and where Mississippi, the wildlife community in Mississippi, the hunting community in Mississippi is transitioning, and the whole landscape is starting to change, isn't it?
It is. People are excited about getting out. They're calling the office a lot, asking about public lands, about all the variety of opportunities that we have across the state of Mississippi. So it's a great time of year to get out.
So now as you shift gears, what do you do today? What's on your agenda for the next couple of weeks?
Well, today I'm in the office just handling a few meetings while Darren Hardesty, our waterfowl program biologist, is flying our first day of our waterfowl survey. It's going to take about 3 good weather days to get that survey done, and so he and I will alternate with being the observer in the plane. And so that's our main goal this week, is getting that survey done. Try to have a report up by early next week before the waterfowl season opener to kind of show people where we are relative to past years and what the duck abundances and distributions look like across the state.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Listen, Houston Havens from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, thanks for coming on and talking about waterfowl. We'll have you back on in a couple of weeks just to kind of get an update.
Sure. Sounds great.
Okay, my friend. Listen, I always say this, but please stay safe in the outdoors. The most experienced hunters among us are the ones who drop their guard and get serious injury. Wear a safety strap. Unload your gun. Keep your breech open. Do all the things you got to do to stay safe. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.